All Blacks and Wallabies, folks. Penultimate game of the Rugby Championship 2024. No title on the line for this one, but Wellington Hoodoo, that's been done. Sam Cane's 100th test goes out on a high. All Blacks finish the Rugby Championship with a solid enough win, man. Finished the campaign with an evens record of 3 wins, 3 losses. Still not in for the title, like I mentioned, which is overall not what the All Blacks usually do at Rugby Championship time, but as I said, it's a nice way to finish their campaign. And for the Wallabies, I mean, some people were saying they were going to get absolutely flogged. Very competitive in the first half, unable to kind of keep that scoring up in the second, in which they were kept quite literally scoreless. They made the All Blacks defence work for it, though. But yeah, we'll go through some of the key events and some stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on what you thought of the game. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so thus far, because there's plenty of more rugby content to come. But yeah, this game started with a bit of a scare for the Wallabies, because Tupou looked like he was done after a minute with like a leg injury, but he survived, thankfully, because the Wallabies scrum generally looks better when he's on, and his first action after being injured was to get a scrum. And their scrum move looked good, man. Callaway down the blind side. They tried that scrum move a couple of times, where they would kind of shift direction and send Callaway around the side of the scrum. First time worked a bit better. Callaway chips it over the top, chases it. Gordon probably should score because the All Blacks defenders in the backfield can't handle it. Bodie can't handle it. Gordon also can't finish it, but it doesn't really cost them because they continue all this relentless pressure. It's pleasing for the Wallabies. They basically had 100% territory for the first more or less 10 minutes, and they got a try through McCright. Very cracking stuff. They got a bunch of phases. They got advantage, tried the maul, advantage, tried the tap, phases, and then McCright. If anyone is going to go over, it's probably going to be McCright. He's him or Valentini. Maybe Tupou. These are their kind of main strike weapons in that forward pack, and they were keeping it very tight. They weren't looking that expensive. They were going up that guts, and it paid off for them. 7 points to 0 lead. And as I said, basically first 10 minutes was all them. The one time the All Blacks had a proper attacking play in the first 10 minutes, McCright won a turnover at the breakdown. So they were phenomenal for the first 10 minutes. But the All Blacks are on turnover ball, are still as deadly as ever. Are up there with the best teams in the world. Heads up play. That man Satiti is having an incredible start to his All Blacks career. He has a big carry, shows a bit of a kind of elusive step, footwork, gets it to ALB, who's able to get it to Reece. We missed the conversion, but it's 7 points to 5. That's not a bad return for the All Blacks, given we've not really been in the game for the first 10 minutes with ball in hand. We did concede a penalty from the restart, though. There was a couple of restarts in this game where the All Blacks didn't look that flash. The Wallabies kicked that one, so it kind of nullifies 3 of the 5 points they've just gotten, which is a bit frustrating. But then the All Blacks on 20 minutes finally managed to win a penalty. They have been getting pinged for days at the start of this game. Penalty count at the first 20-minute mark when we got our first penalty through Lomax at the breakdown, it was 6-1. All Blacks conceded 6, and that was the first one they won. So sometimes it's hard to play rugby out of your own half if you keep getting pinged. So at least that was pleasing, and more or less directly led to the field position, which allows Will Jordan to do his kind of slippery eel thing. Like All Blacks attacking play builds nice enough, but never looked like, hey, we're about to score. But then you give it to Will Jordan in half a gap, runs seemingly towards Harry Wilson, who was the top tackler for the Wallabies last week, but then shifts away from him, runs towards Fraser McCright, who's just scored the try and won a turnover. Maybe not a guy you want to be running out. Beats his tackle, straight over for a try. So All Blacks have gone from being not playing that, not like putting the Wallabies under the cosh, to suddenly being in the lead. 12 points to 10. Very, very pleasing. Another mistake from the restart means more pressure, but defending for 15 phases is at least a good way to respond to that pressure. Kicking gets a little bit aimless. The All Blacks have a mistake when kicking for touch, and some of the kicking is just not contestable enough. They'll look back on that as a little bit aimless at times, and then punished when the Wallabies managed to win a penalty at scrum time. 13 phases they went after that scrum. McCright managed to get himself held up, but they had advantage, so they opted for another 3-pointer to get themselves back in front. 13 points to 12 after 33 minutes over here on New Zealand soil. That's a pretty good first half result if you go into the Sheds with a 1-point lead. But they don't get that 1-point lead going into the Sheds because the All Blacks still have one more play to run before the halftime break. The All Blacks had been hot on attack for quite some time from like the last phase of it's like a couple of minutes, man. 38 minutes. Advantage, go for touch, go for the maul, which I understand because the Wallabies' maul defense in this year has been genuinely pretty poor. The All Blacks can't beat them at the maul though, but then they get the wide ball. And then Reece cuts back and fielded a couple of times during this game when he's got the options of try to beat someone on the outside and risk the touchline or come back in field. He comes back in field, beats the initial tackle of Callaway. They're able to get it to ALB, who pops it to an on-charging Caleb Clark. He's able to get the try as the kind of first half is just coming to an end. So the All Blacks get that 19-13 lead at halftime, which is pleasing when you consider the Wallabies had 58% possession. They had 54% territory. They had conceded 4 penalties to the All Blacks 8. And the All Blacks had to make about double the tackles. So not a bad return for the ABs, to be fair. All Blacks start the second half seemingly with a bit of a change of tack. Dinkin kicks through, but it gets a bit scrappy. Like line-out's a little bit scrappy. TJ tries to be cute with like a little quick tap where he just knocks it on when we won a penalty. And then seemingly just wants to blame the ref for him knocking it on. That was foolish, but hey, I get what you're trying to raise the tempo, but if you knocked it on, then you got to own that one in front of 30-odd thousand people. But hey, still managed to keep the pressure up, still managed to make mistakes, 10-plus phases. Cody Taylor with some big carries. Kane with the pop ball to Rico Ioane's ankle. So like TJ and Kane, like I wouldn't say it was either of their best games for the All Blacks. I'm pleased for them that they go out on a high, assuming it is the out. But yeah, Rico's going to find it hard to pick it up from his ankles, and sure enough, it was a knock-on, so kind of another missed chance. It took finally big Tamaiti Williams, 140 whatever kilos that it is, to break the deadlock, which the All Blacks had been pushing for. And there was a big build-up, like Rico near the touchline after a big Will Jordan break, like he was sharp, 5-meter line-out, maul again, but the maul defense solid again from the Wallabies, which is a little bit surprising, because as I said, it's often been hot knife through butter stuff for the Wallabies at maul defense time, but they got that right. But the phases just got too much, and Tamaiti Williams is just such a big guy to stop. So 26-13, and then the Wallabies are on a kind of yellow card warning not too long later for too many penalties conceded. The All Blacks did have a try chalked off through Vai, which had been chalked off through a knock-on in the build-up, but New Zealand just continued the pressure, man. Clark's able to power over after a nice bit of build-up from the ABs. D-Mac in particular was good when he came off the bench in terms of the build-up play. So that made it 33-13. And that was a try, the Caleb Clark one, in the final quarter. We haven't had a final quarter points scoring in any game of the Rugby Championship thus far. So that's another box to check for the ABs. Wallabies, to their credit, they are pretty much dead and buried with 20 points behind and 15 minutes to play. But they gave it a good crack, man. 24 phases. Wilson so close. All Blacks on yellow card warning. Can't break through. All Wallabies go for a maul. They end up knocking it on. Tossie comes off the bench and wins a couple of turnovers. Like the bench had a better impact this game. Tossie, Moore had at least one big hit that I saw him put in. Tossie with the breakdown. D-Mac with a couple of nice crisp passes. Pretty decent decision-making. Havili had one pass which was awful. I don't remember how many passes he made, but there was one to virtually nobody. But anyway, Caleb Clark did manage to get himself yellow-carded right before the 77th minute, but it didn't end up costing the All Blacks any points. It was on Callaway from a nice kind of cross-kick move where he didn't let him get off the ground, so kind of killed the move before. Yeah, he's got to be patient, let him get off the ground, but didn't cost the All Blacks, didn't concede those final points, get the bonus point, get the win, break the hoodoo, send the boys away that are likely at the end of their AB's careers on a high, finish the Rugby Championship with an even record. Not bad. I mean, it sucks for the Wallabies to get a 20-point defeat, but as I said, many quarters it was predicted to be a lot more than 20 points. Possession finished at 53-47, which is edging in the AB's way. I remember they had less ball in the first half, so 63% in the second half. Territory finishes a lot more even, but run meters 612 to 306. AB's class. Clean breaks 9-4. Turnovers 9-5. Those are all stats in the AB's favour. Defenders beaten actually finishes pretty even, 24 apiece, but All Blacks just concede the one try in the game. Will Jordan, 158 run meters is nuts. A try, 3 clean breaks. Caleb Clark, 5 defenders beaten, 90 meters. A couple of clean breaks from him, 3 of them in fact. ALB, 48 meters. Wilson for the Wallabies, 43 meters. He's their top ball carrier. They didn't find that much open space. It was a lot of kind of direct stuff for them. Ikitau did beat 6 defenders though. Satiti, 16 carries. And old Scotty Barrett is the only AB's guy to make 20 tackles in this game. So some key performances from some key players. Not a bad way for the AB's to end their campaign. And for the Wallabies, like I mentioned, they didn't get a win over their 2 games against the AB's, but they certainly pushed them in the first game and really pushed them in the first half of this one. Second half, it was a bit of a late push at the end, but didn't come to much. That's the game. My dad's texting me to tell me he's home. He watched the game while he was over here. You guys, let us know your thoughts on the game. As I said, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And we look forward to Box and Pumas in the final game, which is the title decider. You guys take care and talk to you again soon. See you later.